Welcome back to the Pretty Awkward Entrepreneur Podcast in our special segment, Couples Conversations. And I could not be more excited for this episode because Mike and I are interviewing our coaches, which is crazy and cool and so awesome. Welcome, James and Angela. I'm so happy to have you guys here.
Awesome.
Yay,
Thanks for having us. We're excited to be here.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool because usually when we get on for our sessions, we're ready to, be coached and we're in a certain state. So I'm like, ooh, the tables have turned. This is kind of fun. And I'm just excited to see where it goes and have you guys put your perspective on how you balance your business and marriage, especially working literally together, coaching people together, which is really unique and something that I don't see a lot of people do. So I'm really excited to dive in. But we would love you first just to introduce yourself. Obviously, you're Mike's and my coaches, you're relationship and intimacy coaches. Mike and I have been working with you for, over a year now, maybe like a year and 3 months, something like that.
Oh, there, yeah.
Just about.
Which is wild. And we just joked about this before we started recording, and I've said this in a past episode. We jokingly credit you guys for the reason we got pregnant in so many ways. That sounds really weird, but we really do. You just helped our intimacy strengthen so much. You have really helped us transform so much about our communication and the way we look at money and business. And so we thought this would be a perfect second episode for the couples conversation segment. And so thank you just in advance for everything you've done for me and Mike. We could not be more grateful. And we truly look forward to every session we have with you guys. But we would like you to introduce yourself and just share a little bit about who you are, both, separately and together as a couple and business.
Awesome. Well, thank you. You all are amazing. You know that we tell you that all the time. And we feel really honored to be part of your journey and recognizing that you all have done the hard work to get there. We just help make some tweaks along the way. So thanks for having us. Yeah. So I'm Angela Mitchell, James Mitchell. He Mitchelled me 11 years ago. It was actually a debate. I didn't really like my maiden name. And so I was like, well, you're lucky. I don't like my maiden name. It's hard to say and hard to spell. So I'll take yours. So we've been
all part of marrying a strong, independent woman.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, I don't. We had the same conversation.
Yeah. I was like, if I liked mine, you'd take mine. But no, anyway.
I love it.
We have been married 11 and a half
years
together, 13 plus. We have 3 children. I had a son from a previous relationship. So my bio, his bonus, that's 17. Yikes. If you're thinking I'm too young to have a 17-year-old, you're right. And then we together have a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old daughters. And a little bit about our background. I am a counselor. I've done various realms of counseling, from domestic violence and sexual assault, working a lot with women and survivors, to working as a school counselor for many years, working with kids and families, and then got into the couples world a handful of years ago. And James, do you want to talk a little bit about?
Yeah, I think it's also fun to say we live in Colorado. That's just a really cool place to live.
Yeah.
So if you're ever out here skiing and you want to hit us up, let us know.
And we were both raised in the South, so we have a unique perspective on lots of things.
Yes.
I'm definitely learning some new things. I don't think I knew that either.
Yeah.
I didn't know you guys were from the South. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Texas for me and North Carolina for Angela.
Yeah.
Wow.
We've got 3 awesome kids. Really worked hard to create this, what I call dream life, and entrepreneurship is what got us here. The beginning stages and phases of our marriage, Angela, when I met her, she was a school counselor, still is, a couple days a week, and working in that elementary school is just fun to watch her explore her passion. I went into real estate, investing and sales. And so that was my first foray into entrepreneurship. And Angela really played the back end support squad for me while I was off hustling at a young age, building a business and learning entrepreneurship while also having kids and learning how to be married and everything else. So thanks to Angela, we were able to leverage that entrepreneurship into some investments and allow ourselves to start thinking about what really drives us, what's our passion. And throughout all of my years in real estate, I would always look at Angela once a year when we were doing our annual marriage retreat. And I'd say, are you ready to stop working yet? Our life would be so much easier if you just stayed home all of the days. She's like, no, this is my passion. This is what I want to do. And so eventually what that shifted into was our work with Love Intentionally. Angela found a passion tied into entrepreneurship and what we get to do, helping couples and really ultimately bringing more love to change the world. And so that's how we shifted from previous life to what we get to do now, which is really ultimately working with amazing couples like you to bring more love into the world so that you can then share it with everybody else and ultimately feel this amazing satisfaction and fulfillment with your life.
Yeah, kind of our I think the motivating factor for us was having done the work ourselves, seeing how much it helped and changed us, right? Those hustling years were challenging when you have 3 kids at home and your husband is not home because he's out doing real estate deals and things. And doing the work ourselves and seeing the value of it and then wanting to bring it to others, taking what we've learned and continue to learn and bring it, and us feeling like we recognize that when we were strong individually and as a couple. So when home felt solid and stable, we could show up as our best selves in all these other arenas, right? We could show up as our best self at work or, in the entrepreneur world or with friends or with family or as a parent or as a, daughter or son and those kind of things. And so, it's just been a passion to help others do the same.
I think that's something I didn't quite understand until more recently is that fulfilling myself, like filling on my cup, I guess is something you guys would say. It's just so important to show up because it goes vice versa. It's like when you show up, when you're passionate and you're fulfilling that side of things on your life, it shows up at home.
Yeah. Oh yeah, big time. And I feel like we have so many overlaps in the sense that the reason we're here doing this podcast is because of our story, is because of how not great it was and how transformative the last few years has been for our relationship. And that's led into our business and money and all the other things that we're doing now together. So, and you guys were a huge part of that. So the work you do has huge ripple effects. So I would argue we're making this podcast from a lot of the work we did with you actually. So, so thank you for everything you guys do. Again, I'm going to be doing that throughout the episode. I'll try not to do it too much. But I think one thing that really stands out for me, and I'd love to know, is what was that transition period like going from, Angela, you working in schools and you working as a counselor, like almost full time, and then being home with the kids, to now starting a business together where you're every single week coaching couples together, and then you have to go be just partners together too. So let's start off with first, what was that transition like? Because I think that's really tricky for people, is that kind of clunky time.
The word that came to mind was crunchy.
I was crunchy too. I was like, yeah, religious crunchy. One word.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I love crunchy. We use it a lot now.
Yeah,
we do.
Crunchy. We work really well as a team together in parenting and household division of labor. I feel like we work really well as a team in most arenas.
And we complement each other. We have very different strength sets, very different interests. And so they pair up really well.
Yeah. And so that all, the rest of life was all really smooth. And then when we got into doing the career work together, we were both, he was an entrepreneur. He had a couple businesses that he was running and
never had a boss.
He never wanted a boss. He intentionally designed his life to not have a boss. He may or may not have issues with authority, but that's a different conversation.
So I can feel you on. I can feel you on that one.
I have issues with sovereignty.
There we go. So, and then for me, even though, I had bosses, I'd always been in positions where I was very autonomous. I feel very lucky that, especially as a counselor, most of what I do is confidential. So there's not really a lot of people looking over my shoulder saying, what are you doing? Do this, do that. And I've been in positions where I've just been really trusted to do my job and do it well. And so I've had a lot of autonomy. He was used to a lot. And so when we got together, it was kind of this or got together in business, it was like, well, who's the boss here? And I kind of want to be the boss. You kind of want to be the boss, and because, like you said, we complement each other, which is amazing. It also we didn't always approach things the same way. In fact, we quite rarely approach things in exactly the same way, right? He's big picture creative. Let's, pie in the sky vision. And I'm like, let's get the to-do list. Where are the action items? How are we going to make that happen? Which again is a great compliment. But when you're sitting down for a business meeting can be he's over here and I'm over there trying to do the stuff.
Yeah. I'm like, let's talk about these 8 things before. How can I know what goes on the to-do list until we figure out where we're taking this thing, So,
and I'm like, we're never going to get to that thing if we don't have a to-do list.
It's crunchy for a couple of years. Coaching help. What happened was we got one of our own coaches to help us with it. And he used a couple of different strategies, one of which is human design. If you've ever heard of that. And he's like, Angela's the boss.
I really liked that coach.
It matters who says things. Yeah. It really matters who says things. And so it was interesting. Whenever he's like, Angela's the boss, I almost had this like wave of relief, like, oh, thank God. Like, I didn't want that. Like, I did not want that. I want to have these things that I really put my energy into. I want to be the chief creative officer if I can create my own position. Yeah. And so it was really trial and error. And then ultimately just keeping with it. The only thing that makes something a failure is stopping before you reach the success. And we just kept going until we found it.
Yeah. And I think a lot of what our coach helped us do is play on our strengths, right? So when he says I'm kind of the CEO, right? I can run the operations of a business. I have the detail oriented. I have the that kind of mindset. James is super creative. James is great at sales more than I am, right? And so we divided up roles within our business that really played on our strengths. And one of the things we look at is time, desire, and capacity, right? So that was something we just kind of came up with that was helpful in guiding us through business and life was, when we're dividing up roles, who has, what is the time that takes and who has the time for it, who has the desire, right? And the strengths for it. And then the capacity too, right? Like I got too many balls in the air right now. I that's not one I could add to my plate, right? Kind of thing. Yeah. Strengths, desires, time, capacity were all things that helped guide us with, just who's doing what and sort through it. But yeah, to James' point, I think a lot of it was just sticking with it until we got there. Thankfully on a coaching call, we tend to do really well. Like we're actually doing the work. It was all the behind the scenes stuff that was kind of we work really well together in the moment. And I think that was the fuel that kept us going. Like we do work well together. It's just what's going on behind the scenes that we got to figure out.
I think even what you guys are saying applies to people who aren't even working in business together, but maybe one is in entrepreneurship and the other needs to step up with things in the house or around in their family life to support their spouse who's taking on this business, like the time, capacity, and what was the third one? I already forgot.
Desire.
Thank you. Like I just had it. I think that's like a really cool framework for people to use regardless, because a lot of our listeners, one is an entrepreneur and the other is not, but wants to be able to support them in whatever way they can. Mike, do you have anything to add or any questions? I saw your wheels turning, so I didn't want to.
Oh, no, I was just thinking. I
didn't want to jump the gun.
I was just enjoying listening.
I know. I love it. And I think it's probably, I'm sure a lot of people listening, because I was doing this, you put yourself in those roles. So I was like, oh, which one am I? And at first I was like, oh, I think I'm Angela. But then I was like, oh no, I'm actually James.
I think it's a mix because you're more of the sales creative, but I'm the pie in the sky because you're a mix. You are detailed to-do list. I'm pie in the sky. Very much when James said, like, how do we figure out what to do if we don't know where we're going? And that is very much like, I'll look at the 5 houses that I want in 5 different states now. Like, how do I want to know what to do if I don't know what I want?
Yeah, that's really true. Maybe it's a little mixed because I do like my to-do list. So that was just interesting. I'm sure other people were doing the same thing. So one thing that I'd love to know, and I think you guys have really helped us with like becoming a true team. And I think that's something that is really hard when you're first starting out, especially if one person's an entrepreneur and the other's not. It can feel very separate. I know for Mike and I, that was such a big thing, is like everything was so separate. It was my business. It was his business. It was like we were 2 ships passing in the night. Right. And we just had a lot of disconnect because of that. And so I'm curious though, as a couple who literally works together and has your own separate things, how do you like turn business off? Because we actually had this the other day. We were in the Chick-fil-A drive-through line. And I was talking about business stuff and he's like, save it for our meeting on Friday. And he like laid down the law, which I was like, that was nice. That was very attractive. but I realized, oh my gosh, it's already starting to weave in to our like date at Chick-fil-A, you know what I mean? And so how do you kind of separate that? Do you separate that? Do you kind of have any barometers, any like strategies or anything you guys use to really keep your married life, and your relationship, and then your business life,
The first thing that came up for me is just that kind of naturally happens based off of the pace we have at life. Like we are pretty time blocked. We have the 3 kids and they're all active. And then we have our own stuff that we like to do. I like to golf, which works like half the year in Colorado. And so just really designing chunks of time that make it so we can't be doing that, I think is really helpful. And then also when part of what happens is we hit the couch at the end of the night when we sit down, and before we hit the couch, we'll say things like, what do we need to do before we sit down? Right. And usually I'll sit down first. Angela will tizzy around the house and flutter and do a lot of stuff. And so I was like, okay, what needs to happen before we can both sit down at the same time? Then we both sit down at the same time. It can be as little as just turning something on TV, because then we can't talk about business. We do that sometimes. Or it's as little, as awesome as spending intentional time together. Right. We're going to go down and have, we call them basement sessions, for example. It's just a time and a space where we can go have like more connected intimacy. And so when we have a massage table down there, it's our meditation room.
Nice.
Yeah. Right. And so it's like, let's just go down there and find time just to be together. What else came up for you?
Yeah, great question. And I don't know that we're perfect at it. I think part of doing a business that you're passionate about and being in it together is sometimes one of us will get an idea. And, it could be the middle of a day and, whatever, something else is going on. And James is like, oh, I got this idea. It'd be really great to, host
host a Valentine's Day party. We sell love. We're, love intentionally, right? But you would be a really great Valentine's Day opportunity to do something.
And that one came up in the car as we were driving back from physical therapy yesterday, so it's one of those things that it does pop up. Often in the moment, it's something like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. It's an interesting conversation to have. So we're fine with it. There have been times where it's more the logistics or the grind part of the business where we have said, yeah, let's talk about that at, Monday morning when we sit down to kind of make our to-do lists or whatever for the business. So there are times when it's those conversations. The other thing we have done, and kind of when you first started talking about us just being on the same team and helping you out, that I think the number one thing I can attribute success in our marriage to, I don't know if you'd agree, but is we do an annual marriage retreat. And that actually came out of James being an entrepreneur early on in our relationship. Is he was like, I do this for my business every year, like do all this business planning. And, the thought was, isn't the rest of our life this important that we want to put this intentionality and planning into it? So the first one we did was when we were engaged. We do them every year. So we get away just the 2 of us. And we strategically plan our life, our travel, our health and wellness, our parenting, our finances, our communication. We talk about all the things, our sex and intimacy, everything. We set goals around things, and we really do that planning, but for just our marriage. Now that we've been working together the last few years, and James had brought up once, he was like, well, do we want to spend part of that doing Love Intentionally business planning? And I was like, no, that needs to be another day, another weekend, right? So we separated those 2 things. So we have our marriage retreat, and then we have our annual business planning session. And just trying to distinguish in little ways, those things.
Yeah, I love that. You guys taught us that, and we really dove into doing like the weekly meetings, but Mike and I are actually going to our first retreat with you guys in May. I don't know if it's full, but if it's not,
I think one spot left.
One spot. We have a call right after this with what potentially is going to look like number 4.
Yeah.
Okay,
cool. We take 5 couples. So
yay. Okay, great. So we'll put info in the show notes. If anyone wants to come hang out with me and Mike and Angela and James, we'll be there.
Yeah.
And we're really excited because, it's just like anything, why people hire coaches and go to events, like you have the best of intentions to do it yourself, and life gets in the way. Other things take priority. And so we're just really pumped to have like a specific weekend where that's why we're there. We're with you guys, we're with the other couples and designing this. But I think it's really cool if people can't do that for whatever reason. You just kind of shared a little bit of an outline for it. And it's something that really just the weekly version that we've been doing has massively helped us connect on and be just on the same page every week. And I'm curious, like you said, you do those separate ones. Do you do weekly separate meetings as well? One for your business and one for your like life, or do you kind of just do it all together?
Yeah, we usually do separate ones weekly too. We do our what we call our relationship board meeting on Sundays, and that's where we plan the life stuff. And then Monday mornings, we usually connect on what is our to-do list and business stuff that we need to tackle that week for Love Intentionally. So we do separate our weekly meetings too.
I love it, Mike. We're heading in the right direction. We have our business meeting today. We're excited.
We did. We have our first one. I have notes, and I think that was a good thing. I mean, I had 2 comments. One, just kind of about like the Chick-fil-A, and when you have a meaningful, interesting conversation, like the idea that comes up. I mean, and I really think it's respecting. I just at that moment, I think, did we land from our flight? Is that what it was?
It was 2 days later, but it was still, you know, it was later. He was literally like in the middle of ordering.
Yeah, I think it was more like
idea.
Yeah. And normally, because it's funny, because when I thought about it, normally in those situations, I love talking about business all the time. And I just was like, I think it was respect. I was like, I just don't want to talk about this right now. I was like, this is great. Just have like a Google Doc on your phone and it's our business meeting. And I actually made one because I'm the CEO now. And I have it because I was doing I was editing the podcast and something came up and I was like, I was gonna message you on Slack and I was like, this is unnecessary. I'll bring it up in an hour. But yeah, no, I mean, and then the only other comment was just reminding I think the biggest thing that we still struggle with and is just making your relationship the most important thing. Like going to these retreats is a reminder of why you want to spend the time. And it's so easy to sit around and just watch Netflix and not do the work instead of spending that intentional extra 30 minutes and asking what the other person needs. Like, what do you need more for this day or for me for this week? And one day turns into a week, turns into a month. And that's what is easy to just fall back into.
Yeah.
It's that James says a lot that I think he stole it from someone, but what's uncomfortable now becomes comfortable later, and what's comfortable now becomes uncomfortable later, right? So sitting and watching Netflix feels really comfy right now, right? But then not investing that time in your relationship feels uncomfortable later, right?
Yeah.
And what might take a little effort now and not be top of the list can really make everything down the road go more smoothly. So.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's made such a difference for us and just being on the same page, you know, especially if you have someone, which is me in this scenario, who needs things laid out, needs to know what's happening, likes the to-do lists, likes timelines. I feel so much more grounded because of those really short meetings. They don't take that long every week, you know, so it really does make a really big difference. And you guys helped us so much with that. I'd love to know, like, it's easy for people to look at all the couples we're interviewing who are very successful, both in their relationship and their business, and go, wow, like, yes, they said they worked on it, but did they have any really crunchy moments? So I'm curious, was there any, like, there might be many of them, but were there any pivotal moments for you that were really, really tough to get through? And how did you get through it? Like, I don't know if we're going to get through this, or this is going to be a really hard season. And how did you navigate that?
Which one do you want to share?
You're like, yeah, we have lots.
Perfect. That's why we're relationship coaches. No.
Perfectly imperfect.
Yeah, no, I think one of my friends is a math teacher, and I use this example a lot. She said that the reason she's an excellent math teacher, and the reason she's such a good math teacher is because she was terrible at math as a kid and she had to learn how to do it. And so now she knows how to teach it. Right. And not that I would say we've ever been terrible at our relationship. We've been decent the whole time, but yeah, absolutely. Most of this we've learned, it's by experiencing it ourselves and going through some of these processes. So I think the first one that pops to mind, and we mentioned it earlier, was that when he was an entrepreneur, I was not. I was working part-time as a school counselor and part-time stay-at-home mom. Well,
full-time stay-at-home mom.
Full-time stay-at-home mom. That job never ends. And part-time school counselor. And then he was out in the entrepreneur world and doing a lot of real estate. So he'd have clients I would want to meet when they weren't working, nights and weekends and things. And so I was just, I literally remember making dinner with our baby crying in the carrier on my back, and the 2-year-old like grabbed onto my leg throwing a fit because she wanted attention, and I'm cooking over a hot stove, just trying not to burn either child. And the 9-year-old needs to get to baseball practice, and I'm like, yeah. James is still out working. And so I think that, that time was challenging for us. I think things that helped us get through that. I really think those, again, and this is not even just plugging our own business, like, I don't care where you do your marriage retreat. We'd love to have you, but the idea that we had to really plan and be intentional and be on the same team, so that when we set financial goals together at our annual retreat and then checking in on finances at our weekly meeting, when he got that call that, hey, I need to go meet a client, I was less resentful and would go, okay, because I knew that we had made these financial goals together, and in order to meet them, he needed to take that appointment. Right. Yeah. So really the intense amount of communication is what I think helped get us through that, as well as prioritizing time for each other. I know you've been very public, so I feel like I can say it without breaking confidentiality about wanting to have family and starting to have kids. And I think one of the best gifts we can give our kids is happily married parents. And so that takes time and effort. So we've, I think, always been good about going out on date nights, about getting away for the weekend, having flying a grandma into town to watch the kids so we can go away for a weekend, and really maintaining that. I think some people, when they get into parenthood, they love this little child so much and they require a lot of energy that they end up pouring all their energy into them and they forget about the relationship. And I don't think that really serves anyone in the long run.
Yeah. So. You did a great job holding it down back then.
Yeah, thanks.
Nice. Thank you.
I love it.
So beautiful. Add to that time.
My challenge in that time was kind of one of my lifelong challenges, and why our friend is a great math teacher and why I feel like I'm a great sex coach is that was one of my greatest Achilles heels and challenges. I grew up in the South, Texas, Bible Belt, abstinence only, don't talk about sex, and it really has been, just about 5 years ago, I started to truly unwind that. And so while we had kids, I had all of this sexual urge and drive and all these things that were like playing in me, and it's unavailable at that point. And I want to be loving and respectful to that. And then I don't know really I just didn't know how. Nobody taught me how to manage that part of myself. And so I was putting a lot of that unnecessarily on our relationship and Angela, and she's over there holding it down, right? Like kids always on her. Last thing she really wanted at the end of the day was somebody else on her. And so for me to start learning how to communicate that and really tap into what my desires actually were and where this was coming from and how I can connect with Angela and make it a safe, awesome, sacred container, right? So we can start to explore that part more. And that was probably that was the challenge for me in that time, was really learning how to connect with myself and Angela and honor like how to do sex now that our life had changed with kids.
Yeah. And I think to add to that, there's a couples counselor that has written some books and things. His name's Terry Real, that I've liked his approach. But one of the things he says is you marry your unfinished business. And I found that to
be
good. Pretty, and everyone I say it to is like, ooh, yeah.
I just sound like, so I'm sitting here thinking.
I see my wheels turning.
Yeah, we can give everybody on the podcast a couple seconds. Just think about that. Marry your unfinished business.
That'll be our next coaching session, Megan and Mike. No,
right. I'm like, oh gosh. Okay.
But even just that idea that, like a lot of that stuff we carry subconsciously from our own childhoods, right? And our, our parents are our first attachment figures. So we, attach to them in certain ways that are sometimes healthy and sometimes not, depending on who they are and what their attachment style is based on their parents, right? Like it's a generational thing that often gets passed down. And then we go to get married and all of a sudden this is like our next big attachment figure. And some of that comes back up and back out. Right. And so I think I would say probably the second biggest, crunchiest area of our relationship has been navigating that with each other, right? And trying to be lovingly supportive while each person deals with their own wounds or shame or whatever's coming up for them. We often play a mirror to each other, right? So
often,
always,
maybe always.
maybe always. And so really holding space for that while each other works on their own personal growth and development. And that often triggers each other's insecurities. So, and that, I think has really been, again, we've done, as coaches and counselors, like we're big fans. So we have a counselor we see on occasion. We saw her really regularly for when we were working through that. And now we just see her on occasion when we need to. We've had coaches that we've worked with. We go to retreats, we sign up for courses. I think really just for us, it's been investing the time and money into our relationship.
Yeah. The resources,
right?
all of our energy, effort, attention. Right.
Yeah.
And it gets easier. That's the good news. We're out there. Anybody going like, oh shit, like that sounds like a big hill to climb. It is. Right. And you get to the top of it and it gets easier and easier and everything gets smaller and smaller and we get to stay connected and in love more and more. And it is so juicy in that space.
Yeah. I love it. And it's like, when you look back at the journey you guys have taken, you're like, wow, I did that. Like, I'm really proud of the work. Well, we did that. I'm really proud of the work that we put in. It's just like any obstacle, whether it's a obstacle course you're going through, or whether it's you're in school. It's like when you work hard for something and then you achieve it, you're like, that feels really good. And I know for me and Mike, I mean, I'm speaking for Mike too, but I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying this, is like, we have a long way to go and we're never going to be done because you're always going, right? But I'm like, we look back and we're like, wow, we kept going during times that most people we know are like, I would have quit by then. And I'm like, we did that thing. And it just makes me so excited and happy and proud. And like, we ran a really great marathon of marriage in a way, And so that's what I'm hearing from you guys. It's like during those really hard times, you kept going, but you got help. And I think you just all gave so many people permission, even outside of the relationship talk. I have a lot of clients who are, especially as they're advancing and they're starting to work with clients who are more seasoned in their business, or who are at, I don't love the word higher level, but more seasoned, I guess, more established. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm really intimidated to work with this client because they're so great. Like, what do I have to give to them? I'm struggling. I'm like, yeah, of course, you're a human. You're going to struggle. I struggle with the things I help my clients with. That's why I have coaches. And so I think you just gave everyone, as well as that math teacher example, permission that like, you don't need to be perfect just because you're advancing in your business or you're growing. In fact, more that whole new levels, new devils thing, you're going to have new problems. You're going to have new things come up. And so I think everyone just had like a nice sigh of relief. You don't need to be perfect. It's okay if you're freaking out about a new client you're intimidated by or whatever it is. Like, that's just come up a lot for my people lately. So I wanted to kind of point that out with what you just shared.
Yeah. And what I'd add is that as a recovering perfectionist, that actually people don't really like people who are perfect. Like
because it's bullshit. It's not true.
I was gonna say, I don't trust that. I mean, I'm like, it's not true.
Yeah.
No, it's funny. I was watching the Madoff, and this will be a bit of an aside because it's finance, and he was perfect. And the minute any finance guy who really knew was like, that's bullshit. Like, it's impossible. This is all impossible. You can't be perfect. You're going to fuck up.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think actually those places where you have had struggle, with us, it builds intimacy too, right? Working through a hard time builds way more intimacy than just like coasting along, right? When everything's good. And so, and like you said, it's the new layers too. For us, I think the more we've worked on our relationship, the more we've been able to get to layers that we didn't know previously existed. Right.
That's true.
There's a joke we have between us when we were dating and engaged and like first getting married, where something would happen and I'd be like, oh, I'm all in. And then he was like, I thought you were already all in. I was like, yeah, but then you did this thing and it was really awesome. And now like, I'm really all in. So much so that James wrote me a song called All In.
Oh, I love it.
He has a favorite. But anyway, so I think there's that, like, I still find myself 13 years later, like finding new ways to be all in, because our relationship has grown in its depth and new layers that I didn't know existed 13 years ago.
Yeah. I think the one, and we were talking about sex and just like, that's kind of where I like having the trust to fully be who you are intimately in that level has started to unravel all these different layers, and I'm still starting to. But like, I remember when we first started, and our first, I do think, looking back, I think at the time it was probably needed, and she was like, just cold turkey stop watching porn because it's just awful and terrible. And then we have been talking about it, like, let's start diving into like what you like about it. And I still, when I talk about it in our sessions and I think about it, I get so much shame built around that. And when Megan allows me to just work through that and sit there and be like, hey, like, okay. And I'm sure it's tough for Megan at times too. And she's been there. She's like, what do you see in these people that you don't see in me? And all this. And I'm like, it's not that. And just working through what it is and what I enjoy and what's good. And James is like, take the good from it. Like, what can you take that is good from this? And having that trust that I can speak freely in those moments, it does build a whole different type of intimacy and love.
It's one thing to be who you are, like you said, right? For me, like, okay, cool. I got permission. Angela gives me permission to step into who I am and be more authentic and figure out my desires and all those things, right? Now that I figure that out, that's the easy part I learned, right? For me, the challenge was then to show her all of those things, right?
Vulnerable.
Let me just, it's absolutely vulnerable and to be accepted. One of the sexiest, most intimate things she ever says to me is all of you is welcome.
I love that. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah. And it's hard to sit there. I mean, I know it's hard for Megan to sit there sometimes, and when things might be crunchy, and she's like, I have to sit there and accept certain things that might feel, I don't know, might make her feel less than at the moment. But just knowing that as we work through it, the ultimate goal is us.
Same team.
It's hard to fully love someone if they're hiding parts of them or you're hiding parts of you, right?
Yeah.
And so being able to show up authentically and be vulnerable and have the other partner hold that space, like you're saying, Mike, even if it's as our friend, our one of our coaches and mentors, Jordan, says, is fun, comfortable, right? Like it might be fun, comfortable at the time, but really, it does, like you said, it builds intimacy and decreases the power of shame, right? When we bring things out into the open and are able to discuss them with our partner and have our partner hold that space and receive them, it just gives it less power over us as well.
Totally. Something too that you're kind of coming to mind with this whole discussion is letting go of timelines and letting go of attachments to outcomes, because that was something with all the work we've done, especially the first year that Mike and I were working with our first coach. I had such strict timelines. I was like, if he's not healed by the end of the year, I'm done. I literally would think that. And it's like, I joke around about it now because I'm like, why would I think that? But it's when you're such a regimented, structured to-do list timeline person, you're like, all right, well, we have things on our list. We want to have a family. We're getting older, all these kinds of things. And that for both business and our marriage massively helped me as someone who's very type A, very like to-do list, all that kind of stuff. I had to really work at that and honestly take responsibility for my part. That was a big thing too. I think it's really tough for people who are very like control freaks to do that sometimes. And so within all of that, even, with our sessions too, like there's been so many moments that I'm like, what parts did I play in this? Like, what could I do more or less of, and being unattached to the timelines really started to help. And I think just in this whole discussion of balancing business and marriage, like you guys said, it took some years. It was crunchy for years. Like that's when people think about that, they're like, that's so long. It's not. If you're going to be married forever, that's not actually that long. Like it's okay. So I don't know, that just came up to me that I really wanted to point out, because for us, like getting rid of the timeline, not like coasting, but not putting so much pressure on it really helped us show up so much more fully as our true selves with each other.
And what happens if you don't live through that crunch together? Is it going to go away?
No. It's going to be bottled up or pushed down.
Yeah. What's your next partner that you find going to get a whole bunch of? Same shit, right? We marry unfinished business. And so, right, we have generational trauma, we have personal things, we have a lifetime of things before we meet a person. And so to give ourselves that grace and strength to work through that crunch together with the partner that you've chosen, right? So you can get past whatever that unfinished business is. And then it's just such a beautiful landscape.
Yeah.
Like whack-a-mole, like if you just try to like cover it, push it down, then she's going to like pop up somewhere else. Right?
That's such a good analogy. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you get that initial like oxytocin, I guess. Is that what it is when you first meet somebody? But it's like, it's all going to come back and you don't know. I think we said in our when we were talking to Eve and Randall, it's just like, at least you know what you're dealing with this person and you love them. It's like,
he's like,
right,
I
you
know
don't know
her.
what you're going to uncover in the next person. It's like the
I know
grass
what I'm
is
gonna
always
get.
greener. It's like, The grass could be really fucking brown and shitty.
Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. It's hysterical. I'd love to know, you guys kind of alluded to this, but, and you've shared so much already. But is there any, like, what's your biggest piece of advice for couples who are in business, whether one is in business and the other is supporting them, or they're both in business together, like kind of that separation, any tactics, strategies, besides I love the board meeting, but if anything in addition that you really recommend for couples who are trying to balance entrepreneurship and their relationship?
Have a coach. I think have a support squad that really can serve you when you need it, and when you don't need it is always there, right? Just kind of making sure that you're maintaining it as well.
Yeah. And I would say, you know, again, along the lines of the meetings, it's just that if it's creating our shared vision together for our life, right? And so we usually start with the daydreaming and what is the life we want to create. And we do that together. You know, we do some separately, and then together, what is this life we want to create? And what is the vision? What is that North Star that we're going towards? And then getting on the plan and the same team to get there. And so for us, whether it's life or business, if we know what the North Star is and we're on the same team and getting there, then the stuff along the way becomes a little easier, right? Because it's like, well, I don't love that he's gone again at dinner time and I'm cooking with 2 crying kids on my body. And he's doing this to support our family and to help us reach the goals that we set together, right? So I'm a team player in this. This is the role I'm playing right now while he's playing this other role.
Just a chapter too. It wasn't a forever thing. It said, hey, right, for us, we grew up well, middle class, standard kind of American family, as I would call it. And for us to get to the level of wealth that we are looking to, that we're achieving, it comes on the tail end of working ourselves out of that middle class, right? Getting a little bit of money so then the money can start working to make the money, and I don't have to work to make the money anymore. The money's going to make the money, right? And so for us to be on the same page, it says, this is why I'm working, and this isn't a grind I'm going to do for 30 years. There's an exit strategy from this style of living that we're doing right now, was also kept a light at the end of the tunnel for us.
I'd say shared vision, lots of communication, support squad, you know, and that can be a variety of people. Maybe it's that, you know, I do floats sometimes. I don't know if anyone's ever done a float.
Sensory deprivation.
Sensory deprivation. You float in salt water, but it's like calming my nervous system, right? And so for my type A personality, that my brain is always going, right? That helps me unwind, right? So supporting each other's self-care can be part of your support. Right, system.
Yeah. I really want a cold plunge. Sorry, that's so random.
I
really
do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
No, I take cold showers, but I really want a cold plunge bath to put in the backyard.
Yeah.
You want one here? Okay, we can talk about that.
Oh shoot, Christmas is just passed. Like,
don't worry, I'm just gonna buy it. I'll just buy it tomorrow.
Okay, great. That's setting a good. Use it for your monthly spend that we do, that you guys helped us with too.
Anyway, sorry, I interrupted.
No, you're good. I would also say, like, in addition to support, so as far as like professionals you hire to help, you know, manage some of these, coaches, counselors, whatever it is, friends too. Like, who do you spend time with, right? Who, you know, there's this idea that, you know, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, whether that's financially, you know, relationship wise. And so we really try to surround ourselves with people who have great marriages, right? Who are entrepreneurs and are navigating all of this stuff themselves. And those are the people we tend to invest our time and energy in, because they understand. So I can call that friend and say, here's what's coming up for us. And I know they're speaking from not only their own place of experience, but also they love us as a couple, and they're going to give me advice that's supportive of us as a couple and those kind of things. So I think having a good support squad.
I remember you guys, one of our first calls, if not the first call, asking us who our like 2 people were that we could go to without a doubt. And that's right there. And that was one thing that, you know, we wanted to ask too. Do you have any suggestions for free resources for people who maybe can't afford coaching right now or have that disposable income yet? And I think that's one right there, but anything else come to mind, that any directions you would point people in as far as free resources go?
Yeah, there's lots of free resources out there. So as far as, do you want us to go down the relationship track? Is that?
Yeah. I would say the relationship track.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing your love languages, that's a free quiz you can take online. If you haven't ever done it, or you haven't done it in a while, it can change as you change and your life changes. So 5 love languages, you can Google that. It's a free quiz. It can help you understand how you like to receive love, and then how your partner likes to receive love, which I think could be a game changer for people if they haven't done it. Because, you know, our example from our relationship was, I often was showing love through doing things, through acts of service. That's how my mom showed love. She was very much like acts of service. That's how she often liked to receive love. And so that's kind of what I grew up with. And so I would be doing all the things, right? Well, James is physical touch. So he would see me doing acts of service and he'd be like, oh, okay, she likes this. I'll do acts of service too. Well, neither of our love languages is acts of service.
Our house was really clean though.
Yeah.
That's great.
And so we were just like missing the mark. He's physical touch. I'm words of affirmation. So instead, which is way easier than mopping the floors, for the first like 8 minutes after the alarm goes off, we have a snuggle snooze, what we call it. And we snuggle. So he gets his physical touch and he tells me how great I am. So I get my words of affirmation, and it fills both of our buckets. And right. So I think love language is one. There's a similar quiz for sex and intimacy called the Erotic Blueprints. There's a free version that gives you your top one. I think it's $17 to get the more expanded version. If you can float the 17, I would say do that. Because it does give you what your second is, which is really important. It has a strong influence. So that's specifically for sex and intimacy. That sex chick, Alexa Bowditch, who we work with as well. She has a lot of great free content on Instagram. She has a great podcast.
On that point, pick a teacher that you like. Pick somebody, a coach. Lots of coaches put out free content, right? Megan, this is a great podcast. How much do people pay to listen to this?
Nothing. It's free.
Right. And so if you can find a leader in an area that you want to, entrepreneurship, Megan, sex and intimacy, us, or Jordan and Alexa at that sex chick, like those kinds of people have tons of things out there that you can really just dive into and treat it like a college course almost. I'm going to do some homework. I'm going to listen. My goal is to listen to 3 podcasts a week, or I'm going to always listen to a podcast while I'm cooking, or whatever that is, and just take what's out there.
Yeah. I think being intentional about consistently listening to it, like treating it like a college course, making sure that you put in that work for it. I mean, there's tons of stuff I'm sure on YouTube. I was just on YouTube looking, haven't listened to anything, but there's so much stuff. You just have to be, like I said, intentional about it. Make sure you're spending the time to do the work that you want to do. And there's tons. I'm looking through it right now.
And I like how you. Oh no, sorry, James, go.
If you're not spending time, you're spending money, right? And so if you don't have the money, ideally you have the time, and so you now have either option.
Yeah.
And I said, I was with a friend, and I said that exact. I mean, I've said it many times, but that you are the average of the 5 people. And it's like if you're in a situation where the people around you are not who you want to be, you can find those people online to start learning from and begin to expand your network.
Totally. We were listening to, or the first person we were introduced to was John Wineland with Feminine and Masculine Embodiment. And I listened to some of his podcasts and I watched some of his stuff, and Mike did a little bit too. And then we invested. Right. And so even if you aren't in the situation to invest right now, like James said, pick your person, like consume all their stuff, start saving up. Right. And so that when you are able to go to a retreat or get coaching, like you feel really solid about that decision to work with that person, because you got to know their style. So it's such a good point. There's so much free content out there. And it's just about like treating it like you paid for it. I think that's the hardest part for most people, is like, act like you paid for it. Take money that you have and put it in another account that's still yours. I actually did that when I started to do my own business. I had my direct deposit from my network marketing company go into a separate account. Mike, this was your idea originally, I know. And then someone else told me to do it, and I listened. And he was like, I told you to do that.
I think that was the other problem. Megan never listened to me.
That was many years ago. Many moons ago.
Like, you said this, and then somebody else told me, so I did it.
I think that's just like husband wife too. I think that's always gonna be a little thing. But I remember not seeing the direct deposit, even though I knew I had it in my other account. I didn't like easily see it, and it really did make me. It like lit a fire. I actually started to treat this other business so much more seriously, and it started to take off. So act like you paid yourself, like take your money and put it in another account. And then before you know it, you'll be able to hopefully afford coaching. Cause I know for Mike and I, like, that's why we're here today, is all the coaching that we've had. And it's just game changing. It truly, truly is, to have someone who's not so in it and can help you see objectively and like help you get out of your little bubble. It's just been so incredible. So
see the forest through the trees.
Yes.
That's my
there you
favorite.
go.
That's my favorite quote.
We could be here forever with you guys. We want to respect your time. And so where can everyone go find you? Please let us know where they can go find your work, your coaching, connect with you, all of that.
Awesome. Instagram is the social platform that we play on, and our handle is at loveintentionally.co. And our website is loveintentionally.com. Those are the two best ways to find us right now. If you want to work with us, we do the 2-on-2 coaching. So like what we're talking exactly, Megan and Mike are just the poster child of like the awesome couples that we love to work with and how we like to help. We also do the retreats, which we talked about a little bit. Those are a 3-night retreat in Colorado based on creating a strategic life plan, that shared North Star vision goal, while increasing the depth and intimacy over the course of a weekend. And building community with other couples is a great thing there.
We have one in May that's almost full, and then one in September.
And then the last thing we're doing right now, fun thing, is call it the Love Seat Mastermind. It's a mastermind for conscious couples, or really awesome couples. We're still dialing in that language. So with that, most people have heard of a mastermind group, typically for business. What we're doing is we're taking a couple and we're putting the couple together in what we call the love seat. And our community is helping do process issue processing, as well as we're sharing a lot of gifts. Every couple that gets in the love seat gets to share something they do really well with everybody. So we're getting resource rich in that space, building more community with other couples that are truly working to be their best selves.
Yeah. And kind of like you mentioned, Mike, one of the reasons we did that is that idea that the 5 people you spend the most time with, is average. And so we're like, how do we build community of couples doing this work, couples that care about this, couples, and then they can support each other. So we just wrapped up one and everyone was like, no, we want to stay in touch. Can we still meet once a month? And, that kind of stuff, because they built that community and they enjoy learning and supporting each other and holding each other accountable. And
being surrounded by others that think creating an awesome marriage is badass, right? Not like, oh, look at you, like you're a whatever kind of husband or wife because this is how you show up, or partner because it's for me, growing up in Texas, it was you cook, all the very traditional gender roles. And so the more I stepped into, I do all the cooking in the household. And I know there's some men out there that might, hey, I love doing it, and I know there's some men out there that might be like, oh, that's not a manly thing to do. And I'm going, hey, like, one, I don't really give a shit what you think. And two, right, I'm not surrounding myself with those kind of people. I want to surround myself with people that think that being the best husband, partner, wife they can be is what this journey is all about. And so that's a fun thing to get to do.
I think if somebody would have said that, like growing up, it's going to feel a ridiculous statement. It was almost taboo to have like a happy marriage. It was like the common was, oh, I'm unhappy, so I'm going to like go out and be away from my family, rather than I'm going to do my best to have a happy marriage, which is so sad when I say it out loud.
It was like the chain. Like the ball and chain. Oh no, you're married, I'm like, what? That's horrible. Why does it have to be like that? It doesn't.
Or you get together. I don't know if men did this as well, but I remember women griping about their husbands when they got together.
Yeah. Well, yes. No, yeah. Friend. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah. It's like, it's a culture of just like complaining about it, and you don't want it. And I was like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And you guys are such a beautiful example of that. And I agree, like being around other couples, that's one reason we're really excited to go to the retreat too, is being around other couples who are in that space and want to have, like we always say, like, we don't want to have a mediocre marriage. We want to have a great marriage, especially now, because we are becoming business partners too. Like it's so much bigger, than just what we thought it was going to be, in a really exciting way. So, and you guys are a huge reason for that. So everyone, make sure you go follow Love Intentionally. Go reach out if you want any type of coaching or come to the retreat with us in May or in September if it's already booked by the time you hear this. But I just can't, I know both me and Mike cannot thank you guys enough for being here, of course, and sharing your knowledge and all of that, but just for so much of what you've done for us. Like, you guys have totally transformed our marriage. We really don't recognize it from a few years ago. It's kind of wild, and it's in huge part to the work we've done with you. So we thank you so much.
Yeah,
very much.
We love y'all.
Love you. It has been so fun to watch your journey and to watch your growth and to watch your connection get stronger and stronger and more playful and light, and all of the intentions that you set coming into reality. You're doing the work, and it's inspiring for us to get to spend time with you as well. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I think the biggest thing,
I'm gonna go cry now.
You can do it right here, Mike. Come on.
I'm tearing up a little bit. I cry I don't know if I cry every week.
I've seen you cry before. We can do it again.
And I think one thing like you guys really helped us with, we talked about on our last couple's conversations with even Randall, is like, you helped us really become a team. And like you said, there's going to be seasons, there's going to be seasons where we play different roles, or seasons where we take on more or less. And that, I think, has been such a saving grace for us, especially during those really busy seasons. And we really look at it as like, how can the team get better versus my thing or his thing? And that's been game changing. So thank you so much for that, because I think that was like really huge.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you guys. We could talk forever because we just love you so much. Everyone, go follow James and Angela. They're absolutely incredible. And thank you again for tuning into our second episode of Couples Conversations. We'll have another one for you next week. As usual, please rate and review and share this episode with someone you know needs it. We appreciate it so much. It really helps us get out there. And I hope you have a really great day. And thanks again, guys. It was so great talking to you.
Love y'all.
Love you.
Thank you. Love you guys.
Bye, guys.